All right, here we go. Welcome into NBA Now by Chat Sports. Chase Senior here with you. Hope all of you are having a fantastic weekend. As always, no matter where you are or how you're tuned in, thank you so much for making Chat Sports a part of your day. A lot to get to on today's show. We're talking Kevin Durant, latest NBA news and rumors. We'll take a look ahead at next year at some projections and predictions. But up until we start the official show, it's really all about you, the audience, the homies, the real ones. So what is the better league? Since NFL training camp is in session right now, I thought I'd ask this question, but this is also an NBA show. So let me know. Type NFL, type NBA. Let me know which one you like more. I have an indication, I have a feeling that a lot of you are going to go with the NBA because otherwise you wouldn't be tuned in to NBA Now. But here at Chat Sports and yours truly cover both leagues, and I like both of them a lot. Regular season for the NFL, definitely a lot more intense, but man, the talent pool in the NBA is so good, and it's continued to get better and better over the last couple of years, so it does make it a pretty interesting conversation. So can't wait to interact with all of you all throughout the day. Producer Jack Lauderay on the ones and twos, really making it all happen. He just makes me look good, and I just talk on camera. He's really steering the ship, though. The content daddies are back. Jonathan Taylor going with the NFL. What else are people saying? King Higgins? I like both, but I still say the NFL. NFL, but NBA is my favorite from Marcus. Richard Lee is in the house, going with the National Football League. Enrico Preston, Michael Upmore, both going NBA. So we have a mixture of opinions here. Also, make sure you get your votes in on our live poll. Who should the Nets choose, Kevin Durant or Steve Nash and Sean Marks? Surprisingly, Steve Nash and Sean Marks getting 52% of the vote, so a lot of people are saying, you know what, trade Kevin Durant. Trade him away and hold on to your head coach as well as your general manager. Speaking of KD, want to get your predictions in now. Where will Kevin Durant play next year? Will it be with the Nets? According to reports, and we'll talk about this today, Philadelphia 76ers and Boston Celtics, two of the preferred destinations for KD. You think he'll go there? Let me know. Rockets from Jeremy Chuggs. What up, playa? Raptors from Mindset Player. Richard Lee, Celtics. Raptors from Mindset. Miami from Modern. Trade Durant. Durant wanted Steve Nash. Doesn't make any sense from Kevin Calderon. Any relation to Jose? Warriors. Akram Pura. Knicks would be sexy from Jaden. It would add a lot of great talking points and drama to the NBA. Marcus Burns, New Orleans, Enrico Preston going with the Heat. He's going to go to Miami from the Modern expert in marketing. Good name right there. If you're a real one, what does that mean? You're not a fraud. You're not a stiff. You're not a schmuck. And you carry yourself like a real one. And on top of that, you support everything that we do here at Chat Sports. Type real one. Got to be subscribed to the channel, though, to officially be a real one. And speaking of real ones, the movement has picked up so much steam. I hit up the bosses and I said, you know what? I think we should make some real one t-shirts. They're available right now. Really good prices on these for very comfortable shirts that are pretty affordable. Chatsports.com/real one. You can get them today. All types of colors available for you depending on which team you root for or which color makes you look best. Already we've gone through black, blue, purple, also a different color that we have. If you're a Celtics fan or you like this lime green edition, you can get it as well. Chatsports.com/real one. Even more colors than that available. Just plug in that link. Get yourself a real one t-shirt today. And when you wear it, word is you feel a little bit more confident and a little bit more swaggy because others are looking at you and you're like, damn, they're a real one. Yeah, real ones march very, very strong. So let's do some comments here. E. Gonzalez, California reppin', bleeding green. Get yourself a green real one shirt. Jonathan Taylor is a real one. So too is SM. Who else is in the chat? DJ Kingdom, Ryan Grossetti, Jaden, Mindset Playa, Peter Thurman, my guy. What up, Peter? Interact with him a lot on social media. Jonathan Taylor, also a real one. So I said a little bit earlier, get your votes in our live poll, but also the t-shirts available in the comment section as well on the live chat. Mailbag coming up. We're going to be doing two of those. For you to get involved, got to use the hashtag NBA, better yet, Super Chat to get your questions featured on the show. What does that allow producer Jack Lauderay to do? If you use the hashtag NBA, you can just pop those questions right up on your screen. We'll be able to chop it up. And if we get to $50 in Super Chats in total, I'm not saying one $50 Super Chat, $50 in Super Chats in total, then I will shotgun a beer on NBA Now, because in addition to me being a real one, all of you being real ones, we're also never scared. If you're ready for the show to start, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. 104 people watching live, more people getting that notification piling in. This is also a big reason why you turn on your notifications, because anytime we publish a video, anytime we go live like this, you'll be notified and you'll be able to be one of the first people in the chat, which allows you to get shout outs earlier than some other people. Shout out for the Armenians from Gallo. Yes, indeed. So if you're ready to start the show, hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. 105 people watching live, only 23 likes though. Can we get to 50 likes before we start the show? 69, even better for my boy Tom Downey to my left. Here's what's coming up on the docket. Latest NBA news and rumors centering in on Kevin Durant. Couple of new teams mentioned that he might get traded to. We'll also be going live on Rumble after our YouTube show wraps up, so make sure you bookmark that. Some projections for this upcoming NBA season. 2 mailbags as well, so use the hashtag NBA or Super Chat. I'm seeing 114 people watching live on the dashboard, only 30 likes. Got to continue to pepper that thumbs up icon and like the video. Gallo, the Armenian, he just liked the video. Jonathan Taylor, you see what he did using the hashtag NBA? He's already getting those questions in. Justin Vint with a little emoji. Is that a little dab emoji? I like that. Swag, swag. Get rid of Nash and get Mark Jackson from Toad French. Jonathan Taylor putting in another question. We're at 40 likes. We need 10 more likes to get to 50. Now down to 7. What'd you say, Jack? Putting in the same question over and over again, Jonathan. Jack gets a little bit sensitive about that. He might block you. Coach Dreadhead in the house. Hey, my guy in the Chat Sports team. Yes, we are here, and Coach Dreadhead is here. You know what that means? We're locked and loaded, ready to start the show. 5 likes away from 50, now 3. We're about to get it. So without further ado, let's officially start the show and chop it up right now on NBA Now. This is NBA Now by Chat Sports. Chase Sr. here with you. Today's show really focused around Kevin Durant. So I want to start the show with the live poll question. Where will Kevin Durant play in 2022-2023? If you think it's the Nets, type BKN. If you think it's a different team, then type O for other. Get those votes in because the show is officially on and popping. We're bringing you the latest on Kevin Durant. Appreciate all of you for watching today's show and making us a part of your day. Durant has let his feelings be known to owner Joe Tsai. Trade me, he said, or fire Steve Nash and Sean Marks, then I'll come back to the Brooklyn Nets. But what's funny about this entire situation is that Kevin Durant chose the Nets and decided to leave a really firm situation with the Golden State Warriors, where they made it to 3 straight NBA Finals, won 2 championships, and en route to those 2 titles, he was named NBA Finals MVP in both of those sessions, and then he joined forces with Kyrie and wanted to get Steve Nash hired. And after 2 years, Kevin Durant is saying, you know what, I want out of Brooklyn, and if I do come back, owner Joe Tsai, you got to fire the guy that we wanted to hire. And then also, you got to fire Sean Marks as well. So really the topic of conversation now shifts to this. Who has leverage? Is it Kevin Durant or is it the Brooklyn Nets? And when you look at this from a couple of different levels and the bird's eye view of this entire situation, it looks as though it's the Brooklyn Nets who have the leverage and not Kevin Durant. Here's what's working against KD. He's starting to get a little bit older, and the injuries are certainly adding up. He's 34 years old. He's not getting any younger, and he's suffered some serious injuries over time. And he signed that contract extension last offseason. What that means is that 4-year extension only starts kicking in this year, so he won't be an unrestricted free agent until 2026. So that's why, from that sentiment, the Nets do have the power and the leverage and the upper hand. As for those contractual figures for Kevin Durant, it's actually a pretty good contract if he ends up being the player that he was last year and the player that we've seen throughout his entire career as one of the most unique and best offensive players of all time, who's lethal from anywhere on the floor, and over time, in my opinion, has become underrated on the defensive end of the floor. This upcoming year, first year that max contract extension set to make just shy of $43 million. Year after that goes up to 46 plus, then to nearly $50 million in 24-25, followed by $53 million in base salary. Then he'll become an unrestricted free agent at 38 years old. Now, if another team acquires KD, that's good news because, yes, we're in the player empowerment era, and Kevin Durant can force a trade with that other team, but also for the acquiring destination, they know that they have KD under contract for the foreseeable future. As for KD's preferred spots, Durant reportedly submitted 2 teams on his preferred destinations, the Heat and the Suns, but this coming in just moments ago, according to Ian Begley of SNY, that he also has the Celtics on that list and potentially the Philadelphia 76ers. But the problem with those 2 original teams is that the Heat, they cannot include Bam Adebayo in a deal because of the rookie clause, and Ben Simmons signed that rookie max contract extension, so too did Bam Adebayo, and the Suns can't trade DeAndre Ayton, who you would figure, before signing that big deal with Phoenix, would be one of the monster trade chips in a deal for Kevin Durant, but because he just re-upped with Phoenix, he can't be traded until January. Now, I know a lot of you out there are saying this: KD, if he wants to, can just decide to hold out and refuse to play with the Nets moving forward. But at 34 years old, you don't want to waste a season of your prime. And I think that Kevin Durant loves hoops too much to sit out an entire duration of the upcoming season. He always classifies himself as a hooper, and he says that all the time: I just want to hoop. I just love to hoop. I can envision a scenario in which KD just decides to stay on the sideline and watch basketball from a fan's perspective, armchair quarterback, and sit out an entire campaign. Now, what do you think about Kevin Durant? He's one of the greatest basketball players of all time, but because he gets a little bit sensitive on social media, he left the Golden State Warriors to come to the Brooklyn Nets, and already he wants out of BK. Is he a real one? Is he a fake one? Let me know in the comment section right now by typing RO for he's real, FO for he's fake, and if you're a real one, get your hands on a Real One t-shirt right now by going to chatsports.com/real1. If you're a subscriber and supporter of what we do, you're a real one. If you're not a fraud or a stiff or a schmuck or a phony, you're also classified as a real one. And no matter how you want to walk your respective streets, we got multiple colors in all of these shirts, which we just started selling. So be a part of the movement. Join the family by heading to chatsports.com/real1. I'll put that link in the comment section and the description of this video. We round out today's show with the latest on Russell Westbrook. Twittergate picked social media in 2022 because Russ liked a tweet that was directed at his detractors and haters, as well as the Los Angeles Lakers wanting to trade him. So this tweet came out classifying and looking at Russell Westbrook's play the last 10 games of the season, and the numbers were pretty solid, as they always are with Russell Westbrook. But there's always extenuating circumstances which can be fired back at one of these arguments. 10 games is a really small sample size. For much of the year, Russell Westbrook was bad, inefficient, and maddening, and at that point, the Lakers' season was over. The player who he started the most games with during that 10-game run, it was Dwight Howard. And at that point, Stanley Johnson was getting a lot of run. LeBron James and Anthony Davis basically weren't playing. They were sitting out because the Lakers season was decided. They weren't playoff bound. So that's the problem with that 10-game sample size, is the Lakers needed Russell Westbrook to put up those numbers. And the numbers and the statistics with Russ have never been the issue. It's the style of play. It's the unwillingness to evolve, play team basketball, and the lack of efficiency. And also the fact that the game has kind of passed him by. Nowadays, in the modern NBA, you want guards and wings who can shoot the basketball. And for Russell Westbrook, he can't do that at an efficient clip. You look at the three-point numbers over the last 4 years, they have not gotten any better, and they're not even respectable numbers. 29%, 26%, 31.5%, and sub 30. Those are the marks from distance over the last 4 years. Points per game, pretty solid, especially a couple of years ago, 2019-20. You look at the stat sheet there, 27 points per game, 7 dimes, 47% from the field, but he just makes inopportune mistakes, and he takes ill-advised shots that sometimes make you want to pull your hair out, and he doesn't play winning basketball. It's not the stats. It's not the numbers that are the problem with Russell Westbrook. It's all of the other stuff that are the issues with Russ, and the fact that he doesn't make his teammates better, and he doesn't make his team better at the end of the day. A couple things can be true with Russ. He's a future Hall of Famer, one of the most electrifying athletes that we've ever seen. The highlight reel-worthy plays where we've seen him streaking down the court from baseline to baseline are special. I love the passion in which he plays with, but he has to temper that sometimes, and he doesn't have a good feel for the game because he's always going for the kill shot. Before we hop on out of here, head back to school, be the scout, grade Russell Westbrook as a player, scale it for me from 1 to 100 in the comment section right now. Now, I wanted to keep you around and say that was the last segment of the show, but we actually have one more thing to hit. LeBron James meeting with the Los Angeles Lakers as we continue to keep it moving. Eligible to sign a 2-year, $97 million extension this offseason, and there were some interesting tidbits about that meeting, according to Chris Haynes, who is a really good basketball reporter. He said this: majority of the meeting was about expressing concerns and hearing out strategies and opinions to assure there wouldn't be a repeat of last year's epic failure. James, sources said, drilled home the importance of consistent competitiveness and cohesion, noting that last season's team didn't give themselves a chance on many nights. And my take on this overall issue, LeBron James should have concerns about the future of the Los Angeles Lakers. They're coming off a disastrous campaign in which the roster construction was flawed and just not good. And the Lakers were terrible last year because they lacked athleticism, they lacked shooting, they lacked defense. And in the future, if they want to try to improve this roster, they lack future assets in terms of draft capital and player capital in order to improve the roster. So it's understandable to see why LeBron James is going to be 38 years old in December, does have reservations about re-upping with Los Angeles and signing that contract extension. Be a real one. Hit me up, give me a follow. Feel free to DM me on social media, Twitter and Instagram. The handles are the same, @Chase_Senior. Look forward to hearing from all of you. You got a question, you got life advice, whatever you want to hit me with, hit me up right now, @Chase_Senior. I cover the NFL, NBA, and college football here at Chat Sports. And as always, thanks for watching the show. Okay, we'll give you some shout-outs before we continue to keep it moving. Also, while we were doing that, we got a $50 super chat, so that means that I have to shotgun a beer. We'll pop up that $50 super chat from my boy Bryant. Got a promotion today. Chug that beer for us. Bryant, congratulations on the promotion, my guy. Here's all of the best for you moving forward. Thank you for your donation, all of your support of Chat Sports. I know you've been a real one and a longtime subscriber, and you've been involved in a lot of our discussions here in the comment section. And I also see that you're rocking that Niners hat. You're a member of the Niner Gang, supporter of the 49ers Report. My man, thank you for that $50 super chat. A shotgun is coming up your way. Another reminder, we're going to be going live on Rumble after the show. Going to be talking more about Kevin Durant with some exclusive reporting. So make sure you tune in and you catch that segment on Rumble for our after hour segment. You see the link down below, rumble.com/NBA now. I hope all of you join us and pivot over to Rumble with us as we get ready to Rumble. Coming up later on the docket, 2 mailbags for you to get involved. Use the hashtag NBA, better yet, Super Chat for your questions to be answered on the show. Hashtag NBA Super Chat. You can be like Bryant and send in that super. Guarantee you that you'll be featured on the show. We also have another Super Chat that came in. We'll feature that in our upcoming mailbag. Every $50 that we get, that means and equals a Super Chat shotgun. So this is that $50 Super Chat from Bryant. That means that I got a shotgun of beer. I'm going to send a message into Prati. You got it? Jack's going to send it. Make sure it's a warm beer too, Jack. I'm going to need some keys unless you have yours. Mine are on my desk. But, Bryant, good looks for you, man. And congratulations to you for getting that new job. Got a promotion today. Let us know what that promotion is if you can, in fact, share it. What it do, Chase? Just smash that thumbs up icon from Clayton Lockhart. You're the man. Matthew Cusick putting NBA into the chat. Just got to use the hashtag NBA to get your questions answered. So hashtag NBA, and then you can expand on that. Witten Friedland, I'm finna bust. Interesting. Okay. Very, very weird, but does that mean that you're excited about the show? I hope so. Producer Coop coming in. Chasey Guns. That's a nice little nickname right there. I like that. And for all my Philly homies, T for Temple U, baby. I know Peter Thurman was in there. A couple of other real ones from Philly might be also in the cut. Every $50 that we get, we're shotgunning beers today. Yes, sir. This is for Brian's job promotion. We're at $55, so $45 away from a second shotgun. Let's go. That's a small beer from my Holy King. It is just a normal Bud Light, my guy. So here we go. Easy gun. It's not as fast as Vita Vea, but it ain't bad. 206 people watching live. For those of you just tuning in, yes, I did just shotgun a beer. Why? Because every $50 that we get in Super Chats, we're shotgunning beers. So, $45 away from a second shotgun. Need to do tequila shots one day from Marcus Burns. That was actually my go-to during our 49ers Report live watch parties last year, and it'll be a part of our watch parties this year. Let me get rid of this burp before we get to our next segment on the show. All right, we should be good. Going to do some projections looking ahead at next year. That's what's coming up next on NBA Now. With 216 people watching live, by the time I get done this segment, we better be to 100 likes. So hit that thumbs up icon, like the video. By the end of the segment, about 10 minutes from now, we better get to 100 likes. So if you're a real one, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. We're only getting started on the show. So much left to get to on the docket. So let's continue to keep it moving. What's good and welcome in. You're watching NBA Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Chase Senior. Hope all of you out there are having a fantastic day. On the docket for today, going to do some projections and look ahead to the 2022-2023 NBA season. ESPN got together a panel of NBA experts, and they combined to do some forecasting as to what they think is going to happen for the upcoming season, from who's going to win the East, who's going to win the West, and who's going to win the NBA championship. Then on the back end of the show, we'll take a look at some NBA MVP odds. So the votes came in as to who would win the Eastern Conference, and this is going to be a loaded and very, very fascinating slate in the East because there are a lot of really good teams who are so closely tied. But as of now, it's the reigning Eastern Conference champions as the Boston Celtics getting 42% of the votes to run it back and win the East for the second consecutive year. Not far behind them is the Milwaukee Bucks getting about 37% of the votes. Keep in mind that Chris Middleton did not play in that second round series against Boston, and if he were to play, I think the Bucks could have won that playoff series against Boston to once again go to the Eastern Conference Finals for the second year in a row. Those are the two top dogs according to the ESPN experts. There's a big drop-off from the Bucks to the Philadelphia 76ers. As you can see, 10.5% of the votes for Philly, and then Miami Heat coming in there at number 4, slightly edged by Philadelphia just because of the voting system. And then in 5th place, the Cleveland Cavaliers, as well as the Toronto Raptors. In the Western Conference, we're about to show you those squads. Who wasn't included? The Minnesota Timberwolves and the Memphis Grizzlies. Those were some of the other teams who did receive votes in the Western Conference. So we're about to take a look and pander to the West. Don't worry, but first, I want to hear from you in the comment section right now on NBA Now because your voices, your opinions are certainly appreciated and valued. That's why we have audience interaction here. Who wins the East? Who wins the West? Give me a team on both sides. Do that right now. As for who wins the West, once again, another repeat. Golden State Warriors, this time getting a large percentage of the votes at nearly 53%. Interesting squad here coming in at number 2. It's the Los Angeles Clippers. Kawhi Leonard coming back. Paul George expected to be healthy. And the roster outside of that, it's pretty damn good. Free agent acquisition of John Wall. So the Clippers at 31.5%. Phoenix Suns at number 3. Dallas Mavericks at number 4. And the Denver Nuggets at number 5. I do think there are some teams in in the West who could surprise a lot of people. Of note, though, because we talked about those other two teams in the West getting votes, Los Angeles Lakers not even on this list. That roster right now, it ain't cutting it. As for the votes for the teams and the team who wins the NBA championship, Golden State Warriors, once again the favorites to win the Western Conference, followed by the Clippers. And then this is where the Eastern Conference comes into the equation. Boston Celtics, Milwaukee Bucks, the Miami Heat overtake the Philadelphia 76ers at number 5, Suns at 6, Nuggets at 7, Minnesota Timberwolves at number 8. We go back to the Philadelphia 76ers at number 9, and then the Dallas Mavericks round things out as the top 10 teams favored by the ESPN poll of experts for teams that can win the NBA championship. Before we continue to keep it moving here on NBA Now, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We continue to grow rapidly because we give you videos every couple of hours centered in on the NFL, NBA, and college football. Any big news item that's out there, we cover it. Live shows, videos on demand, watch parties. We literally do it all, and we involve you in all of our content. So make sure you hit that red sub button down below or head to youtube.com/chatsportstv. Now let's shift gears to the NBA MVP odds. An all too early look at who is favored to claim NBA MVP. What's interesting, a lot of similar names from last year's list, and the favorite is the same guy as last year. And in the playoffs, we saw why Luka Doncic was the most valuable player in the NBA, or at least why you can make an argument for why he is. Going into 2022-23, he is the favorite to win NBA MVP. We'll expand our thoughts on Luka coming up in just a second. 4-1 odds, though. What does that mean? You put down $1. If Luka wins, you get $4 back. So when he's the favorite, the money value back, it's not all that great. Now, if you took Devin Booker at 25-1 odds, as you see him at number 10, you wager $1, he wins, you get $25 back. Joel Embiid, he's finished runner-up to the Joker back-to-back years in the NBA MVP voting. He is second favorite to win NBA MVP, followed by Giannis, the aforementioned Nikola Jokic, Kevin Durant at 12-1 odds, Ja Morant, Jason Tatum, Steph Curry, LeBron James, and Devin Booker rounding out that list. If you want good value here, can KD be rejuvenated? Can he be motivated to win the MVP? 12-1 odds, pretty good value. Same can be said for Ja Morant and Jason Tatum as they look to take those next steps into superstardom. Steph Curry, 17-1 odds, not out of the realm of possibility for him to claim the award. And LeBron James, who's going to be 38 years old in December, 18-1 odds. If he has a season like he did last year, but the Lakers are actually a better team from a win-loss perspective, then LeBron can win the award. If the Lakers were better last year, LeBron James would have been taken more seriously to win NBA MVP. I'll tell you this about the depth of talent at the NBA level now. The level of talented players and talented teams in the NBA is as deep as it's been in a really long time. For instance, going into this year, I can't wait to see what the Houston Rockets do. How good and how well the Orlando Magic can play. I want to see the Detroit Pistons, the Oklahoma City Thunder, and all of those teams are going to be some of the lowest in terms of the standings in the East and the West this year. But any given night, they have the ability and the potential to take down some of the top teams in the NBA, so can't wait for this upcoming season. Before I get to Luka Doncic here, who is your all-too-early pick to win NBA MVP? I just gave you the list of the top 10 odds. You give me a single name right now in the comment section. Now, could this be the year for Luka Doncic? We've seen him be special. He's off to a start in his respective career, kind of like what LeBron James was able to do to start his career with the Cleveland Cavaliers. And I think for Luka, it's only a matter of time before he adds to his greatness, he adds to his resume, and he wins the MVP award. And without Jalen Brunson this year, I think that Luka has an even better opportunity to carry the squad and prove why if you were to take him away from the Dallas Mavericks, that team would legit be one of the worst in the NBA. And that's kind of how I measure MVP voting. If you take that individual player off that roster, how good could that team be? And for the Mavericks, you take Luka Doncic off Dallas, they are putrid. They are abysmal. They are bad. And that goes to show you just how valuable Luka Doncic is. If you made it this far on the show, I want you to get into the comment section right now and show us that you're a real one by typing real one. As always, appreciate all of you for tuning into the show. And if you are a real one, you can get Real One merchandise right now. Chatsports.com/Real One. Multiple colors available. Black, red, blue, purple, green. Endless options for you depending on if you want a shirt to back up the team that you root for, or if you want to get a couple, then you're a real one. Chatsports.com/Real One. Get those shirts today. Okay, we'll give you some shout-outs here. Another reminder, going live on Rumble for our after-hours segment. After we wrap up here on YouTube, Golden Eagle is here. Who else is in the crib? Jonathan Taylor, My Holy King, Tristan, Clayton Lockert, Marcus Burns, Akram Pura, Darius. You love to see it. If you have a question for us to answer on an upcoming mailbag, which is, I believe, what we're getting to next, right? Mailbag coming up next. Hashtag NBA, Super Chat. And every time we get $50 combined in Super Chats, we're shotgunning beers. Already, $55 in, $45 left to get to yet another shotgun. And I guarantee it'll be one of the fastest shotguns that you've ever seen. So every $50 that we get, that means and equals a shotgun, $45 away from yet another shotty. And we appreciate all of you for sending in your donations and allowing us to feed our families. Coming up next on the show, NBA News and Rumors Mailbag. How do you get your questions and takes featured on the show? Hashtag NBA or Super Chat. Let's get to it right now. It is NBA Now by Chat Sports coming your way on today's show. I'm your host, Chase Sr. Another mailbag where we take all of your questions and allow you to open up the conversation and relay some of your takes and some of your best analysis. So let's get to it right now and see what the people are saying. We begin with this coming in from Marcus Burns. It's a $5 super chat. Do you think a 3-team trade where the Rockets get Jaylen Brown, Durant to Boston, and Brooklyn gets picks would work? I don't, because I think that Brooklyn wants more than just picks. And think about it from this perspective. If they trade away Kevin Durant, they're going to trade away Kyrie Irving. And while they've done a decent job of building that roster, they've built the roster around having 2 superstars by signing TJ Warren, trading for Royce O'Neal, trading for Ben Simmons, bringing back Patty Mills. You still have Joe Harris as well as Seth Curry. That team is constructed in a way where if KD and Kyrie go back, I actually think they could be a really legitimate squad. But if they trade KD, they're not going to build with Kyrie Irving with 1 year remaining on his contract. They want player capital back. They want draft capital back. So because of that, I don't think that they'll be comfortable just getting picks back. Move ahead with this one from BG Brody. Do the Lakers make any moves? Look, the Lakers are in a predicament right now. They do not have a lot of cap space. They do not have a lot of roster assets. They don't have a lot of draft assets to make a trade for a better player to upgrade that roster. And this is a Lakers team that is in a tricky situation. I mean, if LeBron James and Anthony Davis play and they're steadily available, the Lakers can certainly make the playoffs. But how does Russell Westbrook factor into the equation? And if LeBron and AD go down for an extended period of time, the Lakers don't have the necessary depth to survive not having 2 of the best players in the NBA. So as of right now, I think one of the moves that they would love to make is trade for Kyrie Irving and find a way to get rid of Russell Westbrook. But as of right now, it's not really realistic. The first domino that has to fall all comes down to Kevin Durant. Don Brady, next up. Should the Warriors sign Dwight Howard or LaMarcus Aldridge? When you look at the Warriors' front court, I do think they have some needs, okay? They have Kevon Looney. They have James Wiseman. They need a third center. And as of right now, I'm not sure that they have that third center. Now, Dwight Howard could be a good, third string guy who can still rebound the basketball. He can block shots, play a little 2-man game, throw down some alley-oops, and give you some defensive tenacity. He is still athletic enough to play as compared to a guy like DeAndre Jordan, who I think is washed. Yes, he signed with the Nuggets. I'm just comparing vets here. And then for LaMarcus Aldridge, he's a different player than Dwight Howard. He can knock down the 3. He can knock down a little mid-range, has that baseline J. Not the defender that Dwight Howard is, but I think he too could fit well on the Golden State Warriors, both available in NBA free agency up to this point. Speaking of those two free agents and NBA free agency as a whole, name a player that you want your favorite team to sign. Let me know right now in the comment section. Shay, welcome back to the show. Good to hear from you. Do you think the media is kind of blackballing the Chicago Bulls? No, I don't think so. Look, the Chicago Bulls were the number one seed in the Eastern Conference for a quarter to a half of last year. Injuries started to hit them pretty hard. I think a reason why people aren't buying into the Bulls is because anytime they went up against legitimate competition, if you look at their record against teams with a winning record, they weren't that good, and they didn't fare well. So I think people aren't buying into the Bulls for that reason. Vucevic, a little bit of a question mark down low, especially when he goes up against a guy like Joel Embiid, who always dominates the Chicago Bulls. His career stats against Chicago, really unbelievable. But I don't think that the media is blackballing the Bulls. Look, the NBA product is better when the Bulls are good. They just haven't been a good team in a long time. I do like that roster, though. Jonathan Taylor, next question coming in. Bulls, Lonzo, Pat Williams, DeMar, and picks for KD. Do we think it could happen? Lonzo, because of the health questions with the knee, I think it ends any talks. Lonzo Ball healthy? Maybe, but you would have to add some picks into the equation. And for Brooklyn, you want more star power. I know DeMar DeRozan had a career year last year, and I was really impressed by what he was able to do, considering how long he's been in the league and the tread on the tires and recent years. He was great, but I'm not sure that Lonzo Ball, Patrick Williams, and DeMar DeRozan are enough for KD. You got to add some picks in there. Now, I know you put picks on there, but what picks are we talking? Like multiple first-rounders? That's what it might take. And for the Bulls, you basically gut your roster. Getting KD is great, but now who does he play with? If he's playing with Lonzo, Patrick Williams, and DeMar DeRozan, that's a really good squad. But you take them away, and all of a sudden, I don't think that franchise gets better. Yes, KD, Zach LaVine, pretty appealing, but I still think it's a team that's like in the middle portion of the Eastern Conference. Lars Neal, Kevin Durant to the Sixers. So this is something that has been reported on by Ian Begley of SNY. He said the Boston Celtics, Philadelphia 76ers, two preferred destinations, according to sources, for Kevin Durant. Now for the Sixers, it won't happen unless you include Tyrese Maxey. The only way that Brooklyn trades Kevin Durant to Philadelphia is if they get back Tyrese Maxey, who is a blossoming superstar, a guy who in the regular season averaged 18 points per game in year two, and then in the playoffs, he averaged more than 20 points per game and shot around 40% from three in the playoffs in the regular season, has that shiftiness and wiggle to his game and the demeanor that you want for a young, blossoming player. Kevin Durant to the Sixers, it could happen, but the big question and the response is, do you want to include Tyrese Maxey in a deal for Kevin Durant? And I think Philadelphia would have trepidations of doing that. With KD, where do you think he plays next year? Is it the Nets? Is it a different team? Is it the Philadelphia 76ers, Boston Celtics, New Orleans Pelicans, Phoenix Suns, Miami Heat, or another team? Let us know and pick a squad right now. Now, our YouTube following is massive. Our Rumble following is also gaining steam, and I want you to give us a follow on Rumble because sometimes we go live exclusively on that platform. It's another platform where content creators are able to push out content that's uncensored, NSFW, if you know what I mean. In addition to our Chat Sports NBA content, news, politics, tech, business, other sports, we continue to grow the platforms that you use, so make sure you give us a follow at rumble.com/WarriorsTV. Nice little competition going on between our three NBA properties, or just three of our NBA properties. We have about 16 channels right now. Warriors Today with nearly 4,000 followers. NBA Now right behind it and nearly 3,700. Then the Lakers Report approaching 3,000. Rumble.com/NBA Now. Support us over there. We greatly appreciate it in advance. We keep it humming. Mindset player. Do you think the Raptors can acquire Kevin Durant or Donovan Mitchell? I think the Raptors are a sneaky team to acquire Donovan Mitchell or Kevin Durant. And the Raptors have been mentioned a little bit in trying to make a trade for KD. For KD, he always talks about being a hooper and loving basketball. If you want to go to a good basketball situation, that's what Toronto has to offer. Masai Ujiri, arguably the best general manager in the sport. Nick Nurse, one of the best coaches, if not the best. I think Eric Spoelstra might top him. Other guys are certainly up there, no question about it. But the Raptors can include a couple of really, really intriguing players. Scotty Barnes, Precious Achiuwa. You want to include Pascal Siakam, Fred VanVleet. They've done a great job of developing homegrown talent and constructing really competitive rosters year in and year out. So Toronto, don't sleep on them for either KD or D-Mitch. Rumpel, big Cavs fan, can Kevin Durant lead a team to the NBA Finals? Yes, he's done it before. He has done it with the Oklahoma City Thunder. He won 2 NBA Finals MVPs with the Warriors. Yes, he was playing on some of the greatest teams of all time. Failed to get to the Eastern Conference Finals with the Nets, and in a couple of years only won one playoff series. But KD is one of the most special, unique, and best players of all time. He can lead a team to the NBA Finals. Can he do it in a way that LeBron James did with the Cleveland Cavaliers? Probably not. Like Michael Jordan did back in the day, even though the complementary cast with the Bulls was really good. Yeah, maybe not. But KD, worthy and capable of leading a team to the Finals, no question. SM, Draymond said he's not sure the Lakers can win the title if they keep Brandon Ingram over Kyle Kuzma. Do you agree with him? Back in 2020 during the bubble season, they were paced by LeBron James and Anthony Davis and then have everybody else. Now, they did have good complementary players. Alex Caruso came up clutch. JaVale McGee, Dwight Howard were really good. Kyle Kuzma was coming through. KCP was a big factor there too. But Brandon Ingram, I know he wasn't the player then that he is now, but Brandon Ingram on that squad in 2020, maybe because of the lack of confidence, that would hurt the Lakers, and Kyle Kuzma was that good glue guy, but I don't know. That's tricky. I do trust Draymond Green's basketball opinion. I don't like that he's on that new media movement because people are going to tune into media that they want, that's entertaining, and that's why we have success here at Chat Sports. Sloan Bradley, will the Celtics start Marcus Smart or Malcolm Brogdon? What I would do, I'd start Malcolm Brogdon, and I'd bring in Marcus Smart off the bench or find a way to play both guys. The only problem, you run into a little bit of a situation there with what you do in your front court because you have to start Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum too. And then do you play Robert Williams at the 5 and then bring in Al Horford off the bench? That's a lineup that gave the Celtics a lot of flexibility and made them really good, going with Smart, Brown, Tatum, Horford, Williams. But Malcolm Brogdon, he's just that prototypical point guard, and Marcus Smart is not. Now, I do give credit to Marcus for how he performed in that role last year, but I think that Brogdon kind of sets things up a little bit better than Marcus Smart, who's the reigning Defensive Player of the Year. Who do you think starts? Let us know right now. Join the conversation down below. MS for Marcus, MB for Malcolm Brogdon. Chime in. DC Marley, what's good, bro? I don't think the 76ers have enough to pull off a Kevin Durant trade. It would have to be Tyrese Maxey, Tobias Harris, Matisse Thybulle. The problem that backs up your argument, DC, they gave up future picks for James Harden, so they don't have a lot of future draft assets on the table. Who else do you include in that trade? I mean, there's not really many appealing guys. Shake Milton, Paul Reed, you can't trade any of your free agent acquisitions. DeAnthony Melton's a good player. I don't think you can trade him again because you just traded him per the NBA rules. So you're probably right, DC Marley. Luke Byrne, one of our loyal subscribers, last question in this mailbag. Is the trade and free agency market frozen until Durant is moved? What does that mean for a team like Dallas who needs a point guard? So I think a lot of teams are waiting to maybe make that next big signing because it's all depending on what Kevin Durant is going to do and where he's going to play and if that respective team has a chance to land KD. For Dallas, they shouldn't press pause or wait because they're not going to land Kevin Durant either way. Now, if Kevin Durant goes to a different team, does that mean that another player across the NBA might be more readily available? Yeah, maybe. The lack of movement from Dallas has been somewhat confusing. Like the fact that they haven't really tried for Colin Sexton, a little bit confusing. So I see where you're coming from, Luke. Last question in our mailbag. Where will Kevin Durant play in 2022-2023? Let us know right now. And as always, thanks for your support of Chat Sports. More shout-outs. Gable, David, Taz, KQR, Richard Assar, Toronto Raptors from Taz, My Holy King, Thomas Schmitz, Thomas Schmidt, shout out to you. You were the first commenter on our live show. Bryant Cowart saying the Nets. Taz, hi Chase. Hi Taz. How are you? Heat, I think. I don't know why, though. Taz, I'm doing great. Hope you're doing well. Cleveland Cavaliers from Colin Reed. Yes, sir. By the way, $45 in total in Super Chats away from doing another shotgun. $55 right now. Every $50 that we get, we're shotgunning beer. So a lot of people have been asking us to talk about the Philadelphia 76ers. We just got that question about KD to Philly. So coming up next on the show, everybody wants to know, can the Sixers trade for KD? You have the questions. We have the answers. So let's explore it right now. Welcome in. This is Philadelphia 76ers Now by Chat Sports. Chase Sr. here with you. Hope all of you out there are having a phenomenal week. We have an absolutely loaded show on tap for you today with the juiciest Sixers rumors that we've seen in a little while. Is there mutual interest between Kevin Durant and the Philadelphia 76ers? Ian Begley, SNY, saying that the Sixers' higher executives have had conversations about trading for KD, and he views Philly as a desired landing spot. And Kevin Durant might want to trade to the Philadelphia 76ers. Let's explore it a little bit further. So we'll set the foundation here and get you caught up with everything going down on the Kevin Durant front. He met last week with owner Joe Tsai and told them and gave them an ultimatum. Fire Sean Marks and Steve Nash or trade me. And if you want to bring me back, you have to fire the general manager and the head coach. If not, then we have some problems. Joe Tsai then backed Marks and Nash on Twitter and said, we'll do, moving forward, what's best for the Brooklyn Nets. I read that. I saw it. I took it as he wants to keep his general manager and his head coach, the employees that he hired, who he envisioned having success with. And up to now, the 76ers had not been mentioned as a Kevin Durant destination, but things are starting to get a little bit more interesting and pick up some steam. As for what Begley had to say about KD potentially going to the city of brotherly love, as of earlier this week, there were high-ranking members of the Sixers who have felt strongly about engaging with Brooklyn on a Kevin Durant trade. It is unknown if Brooklyn and Philadelphia have made any recent progress on an acquisition. The Sixers would most certainly have to include Tyrese Maxey in a trade for KD. Given the dynamics at play, you'd think that Tobias Harris, Matisse Thybulle, and other players/draft picks would also be included. Tyrese Maxey is one of the top young guards in the league. Harris, a New York native, is seen around the league as a high-character player and a leader. He has a history with Ben Simmons in Philadelphia and is the type of veteran who could help the Nets team win games after a Kevin Durant trade. Now, I have supported Tyrese Maxey ever since he was stolen and drafted by Philadelphia in the first round. Shout out to Mike Muscala for hitting that three to convey the pick back during the NBA bubble. And in year one, I saw flashes of brilliance from Tyrese Maxey. And then we saw him in the Summer League. And I said, this guy can become a future all-star. Check out the channel. The receipts are certainly there. And giving up Maxey would be crushing. It would be a dagger to the city of Philadelphia, this fan base, and the front office. Doc Rivers just recently said he's the most impressive young player that I have ever coached. And Doc Rivers is one of the greatest coaches of all time. I understand the playoff struggles and the collapses, but that's really lofty praise. So while giving up Tyrese Maxey would certainly hurt this organization because he's the best young guard that the Sixers have drafted going back to Allen Iverson in that historic 1996 NBA draft class. But we're talking about Kevin Durant here. He is box office. He is special. He is one of one. He's one of the greatest players that we've ever seen. And Kevin Durant playing with Joel Embiid immediately makes the Sixers title contenders, and they can win an NBA championship with the current construction of the roster with KD. As we continue to keep it moving on the show, I do want to hear from you because I grew up in Philadelphia. I love and appreciate the passion that comes from this fan base, and I want to hear from you in the comments section because, honestly, I just love your basketball knowledge because I know what you're all about. So tell me this. Would you give up Tyrese Maxey for Kevin Durant? Type Y for yes, type N for no. That'll be the pinned comment on today's show. So if you get hit with that YouTube ad break, use it to your advantage. Scroll on down and get your votes in. Some more thoughts on this. Embiid and KD would make the Sixers dominant, and they could average about 70 points per game. at least 30 each. That's how special they are on the offensive end of the floor. And Joel Embiid still is one of the best defensive players in the NBA, and Kevin Durant is underrated on the defensive end. So we can talk about and hype up the offensive acumen, the offensive skills, and the offensive potential that a KD and Joel Embiid pairing would bring to this organization, but defensively, they'd still be really good. And immediately, that 1-2 punch would make the Sixers one of the most lethal teams in the NBA and one of the favorites to win an NBA championship for the first time since the 80s when Dr. J was throwing down hammers. And while there are some concerns about Kevin Durant, 34 years old, injuries starting to pile up a little bit, this guy is still a walking bucket who can find twine and put the biscuit in the basket from all three levels of the floor. And the games played over the last 2 seasons, a little bit of a concern, 55 and 35 because of those aforementioned injuries. But this past year, he was still averaging 30 points per game, 7.5 rebounds, and the efficiency with KD is always what's crazy to me. And that's why he's so unique at the size, given the release point of that shot, the overall offensive toolbox. It is special to the highest degree, and the shooting efficiency has always backed that up, both from the field as well as from distance. So that's what's appealing about Kevin Durant, but there are certainly some trepidations as well, given the lack of availability the last couple of years. But when you make this trade, if you're Philadelphia, you're really trying to capitalize on this window over the next 2 or 3 years. And by the way, Kevin Durant's contract extension starts this year, and there are 4 years remaining on that deal. Do want to thank all of you who continue to support everything that we do here on Philadelphia 76ers Now. Thanks for helping us reach 8,000 subs. I said earlier in the week that once we got to that number, I'd think about shotgun and a beer. The next time I'm on Philadelphia 76ers Now, I will do that. I'm doing this show live right now, so a little bit hard to do a shotgun right now. But if you haven't hopped on board and you haven't joined the Sixers family here at Chat Sports, do so right now for the best, most informative and entertaining Sixers coverage from a guy who grew up in the area. It's youtube.com/76erstv, or hit that red subscribe button. Now, a lot of you are probably saying, wait, hold on. Kevin Durant and James Harden, there was that fallout in Brooklyn. They can't join forces once again. They're not going to be teammates, right? Well, it looks as though that relationship is actually okay. They were overseas at the Travis Scott concert in London recently, and that's something that Ian Begley talked about. Regarding the Sixers, it would be a bit strange on the surface for Durant to reunite with James Harden after the way things played out in Brooklyn. Is there any lingering issue between the two? For those reading the tea leaves, it's worth pointing out that both Durant and Harden spent time together in London recently as they were at that Travis Scott concert. And competitors, at the end of the day, they want to win titles. They want to win NBA championships. Yes, KD has a couple, but he wants to add to his resume as one of the greatest players of all time. And winning another one would certainly add to that pedestal. And for James Harden, he's seeking that first championship of his future Hall of Fame career. Top 75 player of all time. Also, one of the most unique offensive players that's ever graced a basketball floor and laced him up, but he doesn't have a championship. He needs that on his resume to truly be considered one of the greatest players of this generation. As for what the Sixers lineup would look like with Kevin Durant, let's just operate under the premise that you trade away Tyrese Maxey and Tobias Harris. This starting five, still really good. Harden is your point. D'Anthony Melton is your number 2. Kevin Durant is your do-it-all wing. PJ Tucker is your lockdown defensive big. And then Joel Embiid is holding it down anywhere on the floor as the most dominant physical force in the NBA. As for the current starting five, this is what it is right now. James Harden, Tyrese Maxey, Tobias Harris, PJ Tucker, and Joel Embiid. This lineup is still really, really good, but where does it compare with that lineup with Kevin Durant? Also, this just coming in from Frank Isola, very respected New York-based reporter, also mentioned that KD is interested in playing with James Harden. So it looks as though that relationship is just fine. That note coming in just moments ago as we react to this live. So you saw the starting lineup with Harden, KD, and the rest, and then without KD. Which lineup do you think gets more wins this upcoming season? Is it the Durant lineup or the Maxey lineup? KD for Durant, TM for Tyrese Maxey. Let us know. Subscribe to the channel. And as always, appreciate all of you for rocking with us. Give some more shout-outs here. SM going KD, the Gold Eagle. Durant just wants to get the hell out of Brooklyn. I think he does. KD, that looks stacked from Thomas Schmitz. Definitely KD, top 15 player all time. I agree. Let's see. They come real. You will have 3 top 5 players playing for the Sixers for the first time in history. And not only that, they'll have a shot to win a title and bring that title home. I don't want to exaggerate, but yeah, no, you make a good point. They come real. You make a really good point. There's no doubt about that. Show the Celtics from Roondog. The Celtics lineup, it all depends on what they give up. Let's say they give up Jaylen Brown, then it's Marcus Smart, Malcolm Brogdon, Jason Tatum, Kevin Durant, Al Horford, or you take out Horford, you put in Robert Williams. If you want Horford and Williams, then you take out one of Malcolm Brogdon or Marcus Smart. So a couple of different lineup options that you have there. So, let's see. Jedi. Embiid needs to get it his damn self. No KD, FOH. The real ones know what that means. Look, if Embiid isn't capable of winning a championship by himself, I don't diss him at all for looking to upgrade the roster. You got to win a championship, and Embiid has yet to. Another reminder, going to be going live on Rumble. After our YouTube show wraps up, we're going to be talking more about Kevin Durant, so make sure you join us, rumble.com/NBA Now. It's another video platform for content creators out there where we go live exclusively sometimes on Rumble for our after-hour segment like we're doing today. Another mailbag coming your way on NBA Now. For you to get involved, use the hashtag NBA or Super Chat. Our Super Chat total right now at $55. $45 away from $100. Once we get there, we're doing another shotgun because every $50 that we get in supers, we shotgun beers right here on the channel. So it only takes $45 left to get to the century mark. Once we do that, we'll do another shotgun. Coming up next on the show, we're going to talk about the Golden State Warriors, and then we're going to do another mailbag. Then after that, we'll go live exclusively on Rumble. For now, we're talking Dubs and the reigning NBA champions. What's good and welcome in. This is Golden State Warriors Today by Chat Sports. I am your host, Chase Sr. Hope all of Dub Nation is having a phenomenal week. Another great show on tap for you today. ESPN got a panel together of NBA experts, and they predicted that the Warriors would go back-to-back and yet again win another NBA championship. Then after that, going to take a look at the best Warriors lineups that Steve Kerr can use with one of the most stacked and deepest rosters in the NBA. We first start off, though, with those projections from ESPN, putting together a panel of NBA experts. They combined for an NBA forecast for this upcoming season. Who would win the West? Who would win the East? Who would win the NBA championship? And the Golden State Warriors leading the charge, getting 52.5% of the votes, leading the Los Angeles Clippers right behind them at 31.5%, followed by the Phoenix Suns, Dallas Mavericks, and the Denver Nuggets. And going into this upcoming season, I believe in and with the sentiment that the Warriors are the favorites to run it back and win the West for the second consecutive year, and they are my favorites to once again win the NBA championship. As for who ESPN thinks is going to win the title, there you see it. Warriors at number 1, Los Angeles Clippers at number 2, then some teams from the East enter the equation, Boston Celtics, Milwaukee Bucks, Miami Heat in those 3, 4, 5 spots. Phoenix Suns dropping all the way down to 6. They lose to Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks. All of a sudden, their stock has gone downhill a little bit. Denver Nuggets, Minnesota Timberwolves, Philadelphia 76ers, and Dallas Mavericks rounding out the top 10 teams who ESPN thinks could win the NBA championship this upcoming campaign. If you think the Warriors are going to run it back, this is what I want you to do. Hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. Back up your guys. This team is special. It will continue to be special because this organization, damn near flawless. I think the Dubs can run it back. Already hit that thumbs up icon. You do that right now. While you're down there, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Approaching 45,000 subs. This is your home for the best year-round coverage of the Golden State Warriors. I've been able to grow this channel from 13,000 subs all the way up to nearly 45,000 over the last year and a half. We want to get to the half-century mark as soon as possible. Subscribe, turn on those notifications. We will not disappoint you with our coverage. Now to the much-anticipated segment of the show, a bunch of lineups that Steve Kerr can use with this roster locked and loaded following NBA free agency. Now, what I envision being the starting five is the lineup that we've talked a little bit about. I think that Kevon Looney is going to start ahead of James Wiseman because of the experience factor in him, just knowing the system, knowing the rigors of the NBA slate. So this is what the starting five I think is going to be. Steph Curry running the point, Klay Thompson as the two, Andrew Wiggins as your elite two-way wing who thrives and flourishes on both ends of the floor, Draymond Green holding it down at that fourth spot, and then Kevon Looney at the five. That's what I think is going to happen. Who would you start, Kevon Looney or James Wiseman? Embrace debate and have some friendly arguments in the comments section if somebody disagrees with you. KL for Kevon Looney or JW for James Wiseman. Speaking of Wiseman, this lineup, it is the Wiseman injection of energy. It's the same starting five with taking Looney out and then putting in James Wiseman. What this allows you to do is have a more athletic big who can run the two-man game with Steph Curry, Klay, Draymond Green, and Andrew Wiggins, come off that pick and roll, go to the cup, throw down some alley-oops. He can also pick and pop and knock down that mid-range elbow, Jay. He's got that baseline jumper working. The three-point shot is also there for James Wiseman. I think this lineup in general just gives you a lot more versatility and ability on the defensive end, but most notably, it's an uptick in athleticism. Kevon Looney is very steady. Kevon Looney is a glue guy, but he's not the athlete of James Wiseman. That's why Wiseman was selected number 2 in the NBA draft a couple of years ago. Next up, it's the pool party lineup. Steph Curry gets to get a breather. He goes to the bench. If he needs a night off, that's fine. You let Jordan Poole handle the majority and the bulk of ball handling responsibilities, and on this lineup, he is the go-to scorer. The other change here, James Wiseman at center and JaMychal Green at power forward. And I like this lineup for a couple of reasons. Jordan Poole isn't the greatest defensive player, but you don't need him to be great on defense. He is going to be your primary go-to on the offensive end, because Klay Thompson, still a very good defender. Andrew Wiggins, an elite defender. James Wiseman has the potential to be a very good defender. And JaMychal Green gives you good size and good length, but also offensively, he's able to space the floor in a way that Draymond Green isn't always able to. So Jordan Poole's assist numbers, they've been a little bit lackluster to start his NBA career, but with this lineup, how do you go wrong? He can work that little two-man wiggle with James Wiseman. He can dish it out to Klay, dish it out to JaMychal Green. Andrew Wiggins can also be asked to put the ball on the floor if Klay Thompson is just more comfortable with hovering around the three-point arc, but then you can utilize those backdoor cuts because Poole is going to have a lot of the offensive focus. Klay on some of those backdoor screens. Wiggins really is good in that role. JaMychal Green on a little pick and pop too. This lineup also gives you a lot of versatility. If you want to rest all of your starters, this is a lineup that I think can play for 10 to 15 minutes per night, and you're not going to get gashed, and there's not going to be a big drop-off. Jordan Poole is your point, Moses Moody as your shooting guard, Dante DiVincenzo as your guard-wing hybrid, James Wiseman down low, and then for the first time, we could talk about Jonathan Kuminga, who continues to be an athletic stud. Now, for Dante DiVincenzo, the insertion of him is important because he helps replace and supplant the loss of Gary Payton II. Knock down some threes, play some really good defense, always brings active energy, and can do a couple of different things on both ends of the floor, positional switching on the defensive end, but also Jonathan Kuminga can do that too. Yes, he's at the 4, but he can guard guards. He can guard wings, and then James Wiseman can just kind of hover around the rim there and give you that elite form of rim protection. How about this one? Excited for this potential small ball lineup. You go small here with Draymond Green at the 5, which we've seen a lot over the last couple of years, and we even saw it in spurts against the Boston Celtics. It's Steph Curry, Jordan Poole, as you have a combo punch of ball handling duties between Poole split with Steph Curry. Either one of them can kind of operate point. This also allows Steph Curry to conserve his energy a little bit if he plays off ball, even though he's always running around the floor coming off screens. But I like the dual threat of both Steph and Poole bringing the ball up and facilitating it on the offensive end. Draymond at that 5. You don't want him playing there long term because he's a little bit undersized, and frankly, I don't want him banging against some of those big bodies. Andrew Wiggins and Klay Thompson also giving you the stuff to round out that lineup. The smack the floor, DU up 5. This is the best defensive lineup that you could bring out. Now, offensively, you want to put out this lineup if you have a large margin against a team. You don't want to play catch-up with this lineup. But defensively, my goodness, this lineup could really cause a lot of problems because DiVincenzo is a really good defensive player. I expect Klay Thompson to be even better on that end because finally he has a normal offseason in which he can rehab. JaMychal Green, solid defensive player. Draymond Green, one of the best defensive players of all time. And then Andrew Wiggins is just sensational on both ends of the floor. And defensively here is what we want to focus in. He can guard point guards. He can stick some two guards. He can stick some wings. Shoot, if you want to put Andrew Wiggins down low, he can hold his own there. This is the smack the floor, DU up lineup that could give Steve Kerr just defensive tenacity that will really bother opponents, especially when you build upon some of those big leads. As we know, the Warriors, they can just splash a couple of threes, take you out of the game, and then just make you feel bad about yourself. So which lineup is your favorite? We just talked about 6, so I want to hear from you. I kind of put my coaching hat and general manager hat on. Do you like the lineups? Which lineup is your favorite? Feel free to let us know. Give us some feedback in the comment section. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. Appreciate all of you for watching the show. Make sure you subscribe. Okay, one more mailbag, and then we'll go live exclusively on Rumble. Levi going 2-2-2. Tristan and Solt. What team can match the Wolves starting lineup? Yeah, use the hashtag NBA. We'll get that question answered on our mailbag. What team can match the Wolves starting lineup? Look, you're paying $70 million to 2 bigs, so I certainly have some issues with that and some concerns. Like the last couple of minutes of the game, are you going to have Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert sharing the floor at the same time? And offensively, is it clunky? What does that look like? What team can match them? I think there are teams that can match those lineups. In the West, a lot of them. Because, again, I have some concerns offensively and defensively about what those T-Wolves lineups can bring to the floor. If you have a question for me to answer, a couple ways for you to get involved. Hashtag NBA. Better yet, Super Chat. 45 bones away from $100 in Super Chats. Once we get there, if we get there, shotgun and another beer. Every 50 bones, we shotgun brews right here on NBA Now. Coming up next on the show, another mailbag. That'll be our last segment on YouTube. Then we'll pivot over to Rumble. Without further ado, let's ride. NBA Country, let's ride. You're watching NBA Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Chase Senior. On the docket for today, a News and Rumors mailbag where I take all of your best questions and takes from all of our loyal subscribers. We start off this mailbag with this one coming in from Matthew Crockett. You think the Nets could negotiate to keep their general manager and change the head coach? That could potentially bring some balance between player and organization as well, rather than players holding power. Matthew, that is eloquently put, and I appreciate that question. Maybe you could host this show someday. That's good stuff right there. So I guess the problem for KD, and for Joe's side too, because this involves KD. If Kevin Durant has made it known that he wants the coach and Steve Nash fired as well as the general manager in Sean Marks, is he willing to back off that? And what could change his mind? Because he's been there for a couple of years now, and he knows how the Nets operate. Here's my issue with Kevin Durant's trade request. I actually think the Nets have a really good roster. Let's say that their starting 5 is Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Joe Harris, Ben Simmons, and Nicholas Claxton. That would then mean that your bench is led by Patty Mills as your backup point guard, Seth Curry as your go-to shooter off the bench. You signed TJ Warren. You traded for Royce O'Neal. That's a really good team. So for Kevin Durant, if you want the best basketball situation, are there better basketball situations out there than that one right there? Few and far between in the NBA. I just don't think that Durant is going to be cool with one of the 2 coming back. I think he wants both of them gone. Now, I understand player empowerment era hasn't really been the best for the NBA. It's damaged the product to a certain degree, not to an astronomical way. But Kevin Durant, he's making this request be known, but I actually think the Nets have some leverage because Durant has 4 years left on that contract. Thomas Schmitz, big supporter of what we do. Appreciate you, my guy. If you were the Nets when you got KD and Kyrie for the first time, what would you do? Would you not trade for James Harden? Would you not hire Steve Nash? What would you do? So we're going back. I think what the Nets have done, they've been aggressive, and I applaud them for being aggressive in trying to win an NBA championship. And they've swung for the fences. I mean, who would have thought that once James Harden was acquired, a year later, the big three of James Harden, Kyrie, and Kevin Durant would be no more. And then soon after that, Kevin Durant would request a trade. And then after that, maybe KD, Kyrie also not on this roster. So if you go back, if they don't trade for James Harden, are they a better team? Maybe not. I'm interested to see what they could have done last year because James Harden and Kyrie both got injured throughout the playoffs. So, man, it's crazy to think back and look at the entire timeline because nobody could have predicted this. Rodney Peete, former solid quarterback at the NFL level, wouldn't mind if the Mavs signed LaMarcus Aldridge. What do you think? LaMarcus Aldridge to back up JaVale McGee as well as Christian Wood. It's a veteran who gives you a switch of pace as a big who can knock down some shots and give you about a block per night. I wouldn't hate it. I'm confused by what the Mavericks have been doing all throughout, this offseason. They lose Jalen Brunson. They haven't fulfilled that void, and they haven't replaced him in any way. I don't think that LaMarcus Aldridge really helps them. I still think they need help at that guard position, but I wouldn't hate LaMarcus Aldridge to the Mavericks. Name a player you want your favorite squad to sign. If it's the Mavericks, let us know. If it's another one of the 29 teams in the NBA, let us know a player you want your favorite team to sign. Also, we continue to keep it humming on YouTube, but also on Rumble as well. Another video platform that we use, as well as other content creators out there. Free and uncensored content on Rumble, sports, news, politics, tech, and business. We continue to grow the platforms that you as the viewers use, so make sure you give us a follow, rumble.com/NBA now. And we have a good competition going on between our NBA properties. Warriors Today, NBA Now, Lakers Report. Not the only NBA channels that we have, but the only 3 NBA channels on Rumble. You see the sub counts right there. Let's make it an even better competition by following those NBA team channels today. RuneDog28, Brown, White, multiple picks for KD. I think that you would have to include Marcus Smart, and I think that's who the Nets want. If they want to change that culture and overturn that culture and start anew, you might have to trade for Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Derek White, multiple firsts. I think that does get it done for Kevin Durant. Marquise Robertson, he's a real one. What's going on with Kyrie Irving to the Los Angeles Lakers? Also, what about Kevin Durant joining Giannis? Kevin Durant will not join Giannis. They haven't been rumored to be in on KD. I mean, Khris Middleton's going into the final year of his contract, so if he gets traded to the Brooklyn Nets, which he would probably have to, the Nets wouldn't want him in return because he would probably leave and not re-sign with Brooklyn. So Kevin Durant going to the Bucks, I don't see it happening, although that's something to dream about. As for Kyrie going to the Lakers, what has to be determined first is what happens with KD. Once KD gets traded, or if he gets traded, that then spells the end of Kyrie Irving's tenure in Brooklyn. If KD comes back, I think Kyrie comes back. Bryant Coward, he sent us in a $50 super chat earlier. That means he's a bona fide real one. Were the Bulls getting Lonzo Ball a mistake? No, I don't think so. I loved the deal at the time. They couldn't control his health, and they didn't know that he was going to suffer this knee injury that, according to some people, was going to be potentially career-threatening. So the Bulls getting Lonzo, I thought it was perfect because he fits really well on that roster with DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine. You got Vooch, Patrick Williams. That's a pretty good squad. Unfortunately for Lonzo, the knee injury came. Hopefully he's able to come back and bounce back from it. David Brown, can Beal and KP be an effective tandem for the Wizards? 500 at best. 500 at best, because I don't like the surrounding roster. And while I've been a big fan of Beal, I think he's a really good bucket getter. It hasn't always translated to wins. And Kristaps Porzingis, he can't stay healthy. Marvin Ball with this. Could the Lakers trade for Tyrese Maxey? I love his game. I love his game too. I think he's one of the best young players in the NBA. Last year in the regular season, he took on those starting point guard roles for Ben Simmons, the stiff, who was sitting on the sideline and not playing, and Maxey had a great year. Shot around 40% from three, 18 points per game in the regular season. In the playoffs, he was Joel Embiid's sidekick and the number 2 offensive option for the Sixers. Yes, I understand James Harden, Tobias Harris are on that roster. Maxey's great. The shiftiness to his game, the want to be a great player is something that he has that Ben Simmons doesn't, and that's why we've seen Maxey improve and Ben Simmons not. He can get to the rim and finish around the rim in a crafty way, which is what he has to do because he lacks size. And the three-point shot coming out of Kentucky, a little bit of an issue, but at the NBA level it hasn't been. And I also like how he's comfortable playing point guard, but also plays off guard, which is what he did at Kentucky. Here's the problem for the Lakers. They do not have the assets to give up for Tyrese Maxey. And if you go to Philadelphia and you're like, hey, we'll give you Russell Westbrook for Tyrese Maxey, not only do the salaries not match because Maxey's on his rookie contract, Daryl Morey will laugh you off the phone and probably not even take that call if he sees it's coming in from Rob Pelinka. Before we get to more questions on our mailbag, make sure you subscribe to us here at Chat Sports. Why? Well, we're the best. Daily NFL, NBA, college football coverage, whether it's me, Harrison Graham, Tom Downey, Mitchell Renz. We're always bringing you the best content. Producer Jack always sculling too. Subscribe to the channel, youtube.com/chatsportstv, or hit that red sub button down below. The people call us content daddies for a reason. Next one coming in from Zenois. Hopefully I pronounced that right. Opinion on the Cavs' young talent. Do they have what it takes to do well with their current roster, and how well? And how much of a squad can they become when the young talent gets into their primes? They were one of the more surprised teams last year in the NBA. Darius Garland took a monster step. I love the future of Evan Mobley. The signing of Jarrett Allen has ended up being a very, very good one for Cleveland because last year, a blocking, rebounding machine who also scored the basketball pretty well. And then some of the other pieces on that roster. For instance, going with Ricky Rubio as your backup point guard. That's a move that I really like. Ochai Agbaji, another move in draft selection. I like what Cleveland did there. Like, they can be a good team. If it weren't for injuries last year, they would have been in the playoffs, not just the play-in tournament. It goes to show you the strides that they've been making, and I think they're only going to continue to get better, and they did that last year without Colin Sexton, who's a guy who can give you 20 to 24 points per game. Taz KQR, what's good, man? OG Anunoby, Trent, Thad, 4 first-round picks for Kevin Durant. I mean, I like the players that you listed. I think you might have to include a Precious Achiuwa, a Scotty Barnes, and then if you include a Scotty Barnes or a Precious Achiuwa, can you knock down the 4 first-round picks to 3? I mean, Gary Trent Jr., he certainly gives you a lot. OG Anunoby, a legitimate two-way threat who continues to get better and better. Thad Young is way too old, so I don't want him in a deal, nor will Brooklyn, but at about $8 million per year, you might throw him in there for salary purposes, but I think you need one more good player in there if you take out Thad. And then if you add one more good player, maybe you only need to surrender 3 first-round picks. John Clark, should the Lakers be worried about losing LeBron James? I think that they should be more and more worried about LeBron James leaving. According to Chris Haynes, he met recently with the Lakers and voiced some concerns about how they're going to move forward as an organization and their overall future as an organization. They do not have a lot of good young players on that roster. They don't have a lot of freed up money. You free up that money with Russell Westbrook after this upcoming year. If you bring him back going into the final year of his deal, then it allows you to build up the roster a little bit better. But I do think there are some concerns about LeBron James wanting to continue his stay in Los Angeles. Do you think that he's going to sign that extension? 2 years, $97 million. That's what he's eligible to sign as of right now. Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. At the end of the day, I think LeBron might take the money, but if he doesn't, I won't be surprised at all. Chualur, what is the Warriors' weakness? My gosh, that's a good question because they're so stacked. Man, they have a really good point guard. Jordan Poole is their backup. Really good wing defense with Clay and Andrew Wiggins. I guess it might be backup power forward, but I like the future of Jonathan Kuminga. If James Wiseman gets hurt, then big becomes a huge concern because you really only have Kevon Looney. So maybe it's backup big, but if James Wiseman comes back, it'd be the third string big. So not many weaknesses. Last one in this mailbag, Evan Hinders, my brother-in-law and stepdad are Lakers fans. Should we get LiAngelo Ball? LiAngelo Ball isn't a really legitimate NBA player. There's a reason why he continues to get Summer League invites but doesn't crack any actual NBA rosters. I don't think the Lakers need to sign or go after LiAngelo Ball. That doesn't move the needle at all for me. Okay, we'll give you some shout-outs here, then we'll shut off, our YouTube stream. We'll shut up the YouTube stream as well, and then we'll go over to our Rumble After Hours segment where we're going to continue to talk about Kevin Durant. A lot to get to there on that end. Trey Dunn, Whale Rider, Devontae. Devontae's talking about the Warriors' weaknesses. He said maybe rebounding and a backup center. Yeah, like that kind of goes to what I was saying, but if James Wiseman is your backup to Kevon Looney, if Looney starts, that's a pretty damn good team. Troy Hammond, we're good on LiAngelo. Yeah, LiAngelo just isn't that good of a player, Evan. I do appreciate that, though. About to go live exclusively on Rumble. You see the link down below, rumble.com/NBA Now. I hope all of you join us. Going live on the Rumble front to talk about Kevin Durant. Excited to break it down and talk about some of the teams interested in KD. So if you're watching us on YouTube, we are about to pivot over to Rumble. If you want to continue to hang out with me and producer Jack, rumble.com/NBA Now. Let's get ready to rumble. Vito Santana, Philadelphia don't want KD, just the kids. I don't know, man. It's pretty appealing. I would hate to give up Tyrese Maxey. Right now, I probably wouldn't. But it's KD. It's Kevin Durant. It's KD. Going live on Rumble right now. Rumble.com/NBA Now. The link is in the chat. We're about to shut off our YouTube stream and then go live exclusively on Rumble. So if you want to hear about some more on Kevin Durant, join us over there. It is rumble.com/NBA Now. To all of you who sent in super chats, I'll give you a minute shot clock. If we don't get any more super chats, then we're going live exclusively on Rumble. If we get a $50 super chat, I'll shotgun another beer. The shot clock is on. What are you going to bring to the table? I'm testing you right now. All right, 119 on Seahawks Live. Not bad. 125. Good. 22 seconds in. No more super chats, and we're going live on Rumble. You can also get ahead of the game and just watch us on Rumble right now. Then when we pivot over, you'll be like, oh, hey, Chase never left, and I never left. 20 more seconds. No more super chats, and we're going live on Rumble. Can you beat the horn? I'll give you like a 10-second buffer because some people might be delayed a little bit. 10 seconds, a.k.a. 20. SM. Thank you. Good luck to your team as well from SM. Thank you, man. I wonder where he'll get traded from Gamer Boy Kai. We're going to talk about that on Rumble. Devontae, hope it's not Bud Light. Hey, somebody handed me a beer and I shotgunned it. $45 from Bryant. That gives us 100 in supers. Bang! Coop will run it back. Let's go, Bryant. Getting that raise today. Sending in the hammer. And it is going to be Bud Light again, which I like. You might not like Devontae, but it's all good.
Ryan for three. Bang!
Bang! It's good. Bryant with the triple. Got that promotion today, and man, doing us wonders by sending in $100 in the super chats. 95 with the other 5, but we'll round it up. All right, another shotty. Did you get sprayed? All right. So once I shotgun this beer, we're turning off the YouTube stream. 100 bones and soups. Let's ride. See, I couldn't do that as fast because I didn't. Oh, no, I got stuff on my shirt. Vita Vea would never. Man. Now I got to do a cut with a beer stain. You hate to see it. We got 100 in soups, whatever. All right, to all of you who tuned in here on YouTube, especially Bryant, congrats on the promotion. Continued success, my man. We're going over to Rumble right now. We'll